Hello and welcome to this top 5 countdown of Final Girl features. So this video is just going to be my 5 favourite, or at the very least 5 features for a Final Girl that I feel are the best ones. So let's start the countdown with number 5. Now this one was a bit of a difficult choice in the end, probably the most difficult choice on the list. Because I do like the more complex gimmicks in Final Girl. You know, there's some very good ones out there, but I had to go with the Happy Trails horror in the end for this one. I did debate it quite a while in my mind, but to be honest, this is a simple and easy feature for Final Girl, and the Happy Trails horror it's just the best starting point for this. If you haven't played Final Girl before, this is probably the first one you want to get. It is just very straightforward. You learn the mechanics very well, and Final Girl, even in its most simple form, is still a really good game, just very well designed overall. I also really like the killer in this, Hans the Butcher. He's got this kind of a Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th vibe. In fact, the Happy Trails horror is basically Final Girl's love letter to Friday the 13th, taking place at Happy Trails Camp. Like I say, Hans the Butcher is very similar to sort of a Jason Voorhees, unkillable killing machine, as it were. Yeah, he doesn't have any particular powers or gimmicks like many of the other killers in the Final Girl series do, but he has a lot of health. In fact, I think he has more health than any other killer, so that's where his challenge comes in, just really whittling him down. And what the Happy Trails horror does really well is you actually don't get a whole lot of weapons in this. You know, some of the Final Girl features, you'll be able to search, various areas on the board and find some really powerful weapons. In Happy Trails horror, you only get 2 or 3 weapons, and they're not very powerful. It's like a knife, and I think you get a bow and arrow, or you can get them if you find them. They might not even be there to find. So Hans is pretty difficult because you don't have very good tools to take him down with, and he's a very tough customer. So yeah, that's number 5, the Happy Trails horror. Great starting point, really good introduction to the game, and just a lot of fun, and got that real feeling of that Friday the 13th, teen camp sort of vibe. Number 4 is Frightmare on Maple Lane. So this one was bound to make the list because I'm a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, which of course this is heavily based on or heavily inspired by. Frightmare on Maple Lane it's got this really cool dream world that you have to go into to fight Dr. Fright, a very original name for him. So what will happen throughout the course of this feature is you'll be kind of running around in the real world on Maple Lane on the map, trying to find equipment to fight Dr. Fright with, to kind of prepare yourself to gear up, and at some point you're going to have to go to sleep, which is the whole gimmick of this feature. Now, sometimes events in the game can force you to go to sleep, which is not something you want to happen before you're ready to fight Dr. Fright. It's really cool the way it does this, it handles this, because while you're awake, you are completely safe from Dr. Fright. He can't hurt you, but he can go around killing other victims on the board, and you're powerless to stop him. So you might be safe from him, but nobody else is, and you can't help them. So he can end up powering up very, very quickly as he increases the bloodlust track. There's also this really good feature in Frightmare on Maple Lane where you have to convince residents to let you into their houses, because of course you're on Maple Lane, it's like a housing estate, and you've got all these different homes, and of course you might be the Final Girl, but these victims don't know that, these potential victims. You're just some crazy girl running up to their door and asking to come in and see if they've got any baseball bats or shotguns you can equip yourself with. So you have to use this special action to convince them to let you in. It makes searching that bit harder, which is where the real difficulty of Frightmare on Maple Lane comes in, is getting your equipment, getting everything you need before you have to go to sleep and inevitably face down Dr. Fright. Now, when you do go to sleep, there's this fantastic little boiler room mini game when you're in the dream world. Dr. Fright's his lair is like this boiler room. and it's really simple, but it's incredibly tense. What you do is you get this deck of cards, and you have to kind of slide them either left, right, up or down, revealing half of the card. So, you know, if you slide the top card up, it reveals the bottom half of the card. Then if you slide the next card to the left, it'll reveal the right half of the next card below it. What's really cool about this is if you reveal one of those halves of the card and you can see Dr. Fright's face there, then he attacks you and damages you. So it's like this really tense sort of moment. You know, I've not seen it done this well in any other board game, this kind of horror feeling. This you know, it's not really actual fear. I mean, how can you really be scared of a board game? But it's just this really wonderful little moment of tension as you just slide that card up, and you're just hoping you really got your fingers crossed that you're not going to see Dr. Fright's face poking out, grinning at you. And Dr. Fright himself, despite being quite weak, he doesn't have a lot of health, but he poses a big threat from the dream world because, like I said, he can level up very quickly, and that's number 4. That's Frightmare on Maple Lane. Number 3 is, which is of course inspired by the film Alien. So this one, I really like this because it's got a really cool environment. You know, you're on a spaceship, and it's kind of all these little interconnected rooms, and you can seal off and open these ducts, these access ways that kind of create shortcuts around the board. But you can also, you know, you can open them up and let yourself through. But you have to use these key cards, which are like a discardable resource in order to do it. But if you do it right, you know, you can kind of seal the Evoor, which is the killer. You know, it's the alien sort of monster that's chasing you around. You can kind of lure it to one place and then escape through a duct and seal that duct off. So there's lots of little strategies and tactics in how you move around. And on top of that, there are special rooms on the board that allow you to use the environment to damage the Evoor. So there's like the incinerator, things like that, where if you can lure the Evoor in and activate these special areas, then you can kind of deal damage that way. And that includes, of course, the classic flushing it out of the airlock. The Evoor has this life cycle mechanic where it starts out as a little hatchling, and then it grows bigger and finally into its third form of this fully evolved alien. And that's really cool in itself because its stats drastically change depending on which form it's in. And there's this kind of this bit of a race, really, for you to level up and get all your equipment before it reaches its final form and becomes a real challenge. So you're kind of racing against the Evoor of who can level up faster. And there's also this really, really cool mechanic with the Evoor where it disappears from the board. It like scurries off into like the ventilation shafts and the ducts and what have you, and it's removed from the board. And then you'll draw one of these cards where it might ambush you. You know, it might jump down in your space. It could come from anywhere. Really a really good tense little deck of cards there, which means you never quite know where it is. You know, you can never be sure when the Evoor going to pop up, and that just does a great job of bringing about the tension in the feature. That's number 3, Terror Among the Stars. Number 2. So it was a very close between number 2 and number 1. These last two, I really like them both. But in the end, number 2 had to be Panic at Station 2891. This is largely because The Thing is one of my favourite horror films, which The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982, is what this feature takes its inspiration from very, very heavily. And it does a really good job of bringing to the table this paranoia of which killer is infected. You know, you have 3 potential killers on the board. Now, they could all be killers. They could all be the organism, as the killer is called in this game. You know, each one of them a different form of the organism. Or it might be just one. There's always going to be at least one, but you never know how many it is. And that's where this blood test mechanic comes in. And this is a really good mechanic of a way to, it's kind of just a shuffle and draw a card when you do a blood test to determine whether the potential killer that you are testing is actually the organism or a human. And again, this is, you know, Final Girl's all about bringing the tension, and this does a really good job of it as well. Just like in the other features, the Frightmare on Maple Lane, And the way this one does it, it's that sense of relief you get when you turn over one of the blood test cards and you find out this killer is this meeple, this potential killer is in fact not a killer. They're a regular human. Cool, you can save them. Great. But then it's quite the other way around when you flip the blood test card and realize, oh dear, they're infected. It's one of the organism. And then you reveal which variant of the organism it is, because there's 3 different organisms. And of course, most of the time you do this, it's going to be the big tough one that you're going to have the hardest time taking out. So yeah, I really like the way they introduce this kind of paranoia element, and it really feels very similar to the film The Thing. The 3 different killer organisms also all have different stats, which is nice. You're very much fighting different variants that are, they can all be a challenge. One of them's like really quick but not as deadly, and one of them is slow but very, very strong. So they all work really well. And then there is also this helicopter mechanic, because the environment at Station 2891 is you're out in the Antarctic. So you can't just get someone out of the Antarctic research station and they're safe. They'll freeze to death in the snow. Which is also, there's a really nice little mechanic where when you're outside the station, the temperature can affect you, and it can affect the potential victims. But there's also the fact that to rescue them, you have to get them away to safety, and you do that through the means of this helicopter mechanic, where you have to get the survivors to the helipad, load up the helicopter, and it can only carry 3, I think it is. It can only carry 3 survivors, and then that has to fly away and come back. So actually rescuing the victims in this feature can be really difficult, because you're relying on that helicopter. You can't just shuffle a load of them off the board in 1 turn, or maybe 2 turns. It takes you a little while, and you've really got to stack them all up on the helipad, get them on the helicopter, and fly the helicopter away. And as I said earlier, the temperature outside can deal damage at certain points. And so you could have 3 victims ready to get aboard the helicopter, and then the temperature suddenly drops and they all die. So yeah, there's also some really cool equipment in Panic at Station 2891. Getting a flamethrower or an Alaskan Malamute. These are pretty nice bits of equipment that are a lot of fun to see included in there. And that's number 2. That's Panic at Station 2891. Number 1 is A Knock at the Door. Now, like I said, this was very close with Panic at Station 2891, but this one just takes the cake. It just edges out the win, and that's because the map layout is really, really good. It's really easy to traverse the map in this game, but it's also really easy to traverse for the killers. So whilst you can get around really quickly and get where you need to go, the killers are always a threat. They're always close behind. It really feels like they're always hot on your heels. And there's also the fact that in this game there are 3 killers, just like in Panic at Station 2891. The difference here is there's no, paranoia over whether one is a killer or one isn't. All 3 of them are killers. They're all there right from the start, and they activate in kind of a random fashion. The terror cards will tell you when a different killer activates, so you're never quite sure which one's going to activate. And each one of them is essentially the same. There's not much difference in these guys, which is a bit of a shame, because it would have been nice if the killers would have had like slightly different stats in some way, or a little different ability for each one. But it works really well as forcing you to fight 3 different killers. And yeah, I don't really know what more to say about that. They're quite simple, but they do work really well in the game. And there's also some really fun event cards in the event deck in this feature. I really like the one called Loser Boyfriend, where it's like it reveals that your boyfriend is the one who has kind of conspired to get you killed, and then you can kill him to bring the fear rating, bring the horror rating down. And I just really like that. It's like that card pops up, and it's like it really makes it feel like you're playing through a feature film. And there's this little twist in the tale of, the boyfriend turns up who, for whatever reason, wanted to get you killed. And there's also one called We Were Just Passing By, where 2 random victims kind of just turn up. It's nothing particularly special. That it just puts two more victims on the board for you to potentially save or potentially be killed. But it really struck me as amusing. I just love the title. We were just passing by, so it's kind of like these two passers by, you know, these two joggers on their morning run are they've just heard this commotion, like, oh, we're just passing by and we just came to see what was going on, and then they normally get stabbed in the face from my experience. But what really puts this one in the #1 spot is, without a doubt, it's the crafting mechanic. So this is probably one of the best mechanics in Final Girl. I really love this. It allows you to upgrade weapons and items that you've already found, you know, as you'd expect crafting to do. And it's such a simple and elegant system. You know, you have certain spaces on the board where you can get nails or tools or rope and things like that. And when you go to those spaces, you pick up the kind of the crafting material, and then there'll be certain special craftable items in the game. So for example, you know, you might be able to, you can find a shotgun, which is a pretty good weapon in itself, but if you get the tools, you can turn it into a sawn-off shotgun, and then it becomes even more powerful. Or there's the ability to combine a baseball bat and a knife into this kind of a vicious club called, I think it's called the Disemboweler. This just has a whole new level. It's that gearing up feel of Final Girl, and you know, you really want to kind of get these new upgraded weapons, even though you can still win. You know, you can still take down the killers with just a regular baseball bat, but you know, who doesn't want to tape a knife to a baseball bat? That sounded rather concerning, didn't it? Just to be clear, I don't actually want to tape a knife to a baseball bat in real life. In Final Girl, yes, very cool. In real life, no, and I wouldn't recommend it. So that's #1, A Knock at the Door. And that is my top 5 list of Final Girl features. I haven't played every single Final Girl feature, but I've played a fair few of them. And yeah, those are my top 5. They're all really good. I don't think, if you play Final Girl and you like it, you can't really go wrong with any of the features. At least every single one I've played is really good. They're just such great solo play games. And it's probably does the best job of bringing about tension in a board game that I've played from any game. It just, you know, Ryder Games just did a fantastic job with this series. I'm really looking forward to series 3. Yeah, so that's it really. That's my top 5 list, and so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and do you agree, do you disagree? You know, feel free to leave a comment and let me know, and I will see you in whatever my next video might be. Thanks for watching. Bye.